Good morning and welcome in to Cards Central 365 on STL Sports Central. I am your host, Ethan Hannaford, joined today by Grant Salsman as the Cardinals look to sweep the Los Angeles Dodgers. Who would have thought at any point in the year 2025 that we would be saying that sentence? But we are after the Cardinals were able to pull off a very impressive game to win, clinching a series victory in a 2-1 fashion. 5 1/3 shutout innings from Eric Fetty, attached with some clutch late hitting. The Cardinals able to win the low-scoring contest, and as mentioned, they'll face off against Clayton Kershaw, a guy that has had some success historically against the Cardinals, but also the Cardinals have been able to get to in some big moments in history as well. So we'll see if the Cardinals are able to get the brooms out once again this season. Against another NL West team. Boy, would that be fun, especially with a team to the caliber of the Los Angeles Dodgers. But first, let's go ahead and let's start off by just kind of recapping these last two games and some of the big takeaways that we have seen from the Cardinals, because I don't think it's much of a coincidence, Grant, that when you look at how the starting pitching had been performing going into this series, right, there had been some concern in the previous 6 games in the series against the Texas Rangers and the series against the Kansas City Royals with some of the struggles from the starting pitching. Matthew Liberatore, back-to-back rough starts. Andre Pallante, things have been looking off for him for a little while now. You have one of the most, what feels like, unpredictable pitchers in baseball in Eric Fetty, just not knowing what you're going to get on a day-in, day-out basis from him. Miles Michaelis has been extremely consistent, so I'll give him my kudos, and Sonny Gray has been very good of late as well. But at one point, the five guys, right, very consistent, were a strength, and all of a sudden, some of them are starting to have some issues, and I think fans start to panic a little bit and say, uh-oh, this is not good. 6 1/3 shutout innings from Sonny Gray on Friday night. 5 1/3 shutout innings from Eric Fetty yesterday. When you look at the starting pitching and what they've been able to do in this series so far, what has stood out to you?
Yeah, I think that it's been kind of what turned in what was a really consistent order, like you said, turned a little, there's been some rough starts from 3 or 4 of those starters their last few times out. But I think it's just been a lot of confidence, and Sonny Gray's start didn't really surprise you, I guess. He's the ace. He goes 6 innings strong. Cardinals were up 4-5-0. Like, he was pitching with the lead basically the entire game. Now, Eric Fetty, it's hard to figure Eric Fetty out. One day he's going 3 innings, giving up 8 runs, and the next he goes 5 1/3, giving up no runs to probably the best lineup in the MLB. So that is what I think the Cardinals are moving forward. You're going to bank on Liberatore, Gray, and even Miles Michaelis to give you what you expect from them. And then it seems like Eric Fetty is just a toss-up. You never know with him, and you're hoping that you can find a little more consistency with him and Pallante as we move forward. But Fetty looked awesome yesterday. It was a very strange way to get 5 1/3 with scoreless, walking forward, giving up 4 hits, but he found a way to leave runners on base. I think I saw the Dodgers are 1-28 with runners in scoring position in this series, or some crazy stat like that. So it's been situational pitching for the Cardinals so far this series.
Yeah, I mean, with a lineup as good as the Dodgers have, you know that it's not going to be smooth sailing. And it hasn't been smooth sailing for St. Louis, right? There has been guys consistently on base. And honestly, you can't even be mad, right? Because one, it's the Dodgers. 2, they're not scoring, right? And what has been so impressive to me is the way that they have been able to maneuver around the top 3 in the order for the Los Angeles Dodgers during this series. Shohei Ohtani was 1 for 4 on Friday and was 1 for 4 yesterday. Mookie Betts has hit them pretty well, but I think he was 7 for 10 going into yesterday. And I mean, he is on fire right now. But Freddie Freeman, they have stumped Freddie Freeman. He is clearly in a little bit of a rut, but that's extremely impressive because Freddie Freeman, best hitter in baseball right now. When you look at the numbers, it's batting .360 going into yesterday. So, I mean, for the Cardinals to be able to limit that trio and keep them out of the run column makes it even more impressive in my eyes. When you look at the starting pitching as a whole, it wasn't long ago to where I was saying you look at 1 through 5, pretty even. Like, I mean, like, it didn't feel like there was like you clearly have a 1, 2, 3 that you are heavily leaning on, and then these are your 4, 5s. It felt like you could have, in large part, put any guy in any spot and trusted them based off of what you had been getting
Yeah.
up point. Now, Sonny Gray has clearly, stepped up in his return to top of the rotation form. We know what Matthew Liberatore has been in large part, excluding his last 2 outings. That's clearly your 1-2. But outside of that, I mean, you feel pretty confident rolling any guy in close to any spot for a good majority of the season, which I think is pretty telling about this Cardinals starting rotation. And it's been pretty impressive in this series. It's been pretty impressive. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say with the 1-2, I've been very impressed with Fetty. I know he's had some starts that he's blown up with, but for the large part, I think he's been pretty consistently giving you quality starts. And every now and then he turns into the guy we saw yesterday or against the Nationals a few series ago, a guy that can give you 7, 8 innings of scoreless ball. So I'm really excited by Fetty. I hope he's finding his form because whatever the Cardinals decide to do, where they are at the end of July, I think Eric Fetty could be a commodity at the trade deadline if the Cardinals are sellers come that point.
Some fans are bought in on this lovely Sunday morning here on Card Central 365 on STL Sports Central. Have to remind you that Card Central 365 is powered by Gray Bar here on STL Sports Central and presented by DraftKings. The crown is yours. We'll tell you a little bit more about DraftKings in a little bit. C. Ramirez saying, good afternoon, fellas. Win or lose, what a great series. 92 plus wins this year for the Cardinals and Marmol winning Manager of the Year. I don't know if I'm on board with 92 wins yet, but up to this point, if this track continues, Ollie Marmol has to be right now the favorite for National League Manager of the Year.
If the Cardinals win the NL Central, he's winning National League Manager of the Year.
I don't even know if I would say it has to be that because of how good the Cubs are. The Cubs are probably on pace for 92 wins this year at this point. I haven't looked at the numbers, but with how they're playing, they're through the toughest part of their schedule. I don't think the Cardinals are going to catch them, but I do think that it is realistic for the Cardinals to sneak in with a wild card spot. Some people had this Cardinals team pegged at 75 wins, 78. I know some had no more in the 500 range. But if the Cardinals were to win 87, 88 games and make it to the playoffs, I don't know who had lower or had a bigger difference between their expectations at the beginning of the season and where they ended now. At least on the track they're at right now, I'd have to say that Ollie Marmol has to be one of the favorites for Manager of the Year.
Yeah, to your one point, though, I think I disagree. I think the Cubs are through one of their easiest parts. That schedule is going to get harder.
Look at May. You have to look at May or April, though. April was
yes, but it's going to pick back up a little bit. And I think the chat believes they can do it. I think I do, too. I think the Cardinals can catch the Cubs. They've stayed within touching distance through this remarkably easy stretch for the Cubs. I think there's a shot the Cardinals can get within a few games come July, August, and it could be a race for all summer long between the Cubs, Cardinals, and even the Brewers are only 5.5 games out. They're within striking distance as well. So there's a lot of baseball left to play. I think the Redbirds definitely can be in that conversation for the NL Central.
Yeah, and that'll be a conversation that we'll have to have a a little deeper into the season because I am not one to dive into standings this early in the year. I just think at Flag Day is a big one. I'm really even more so once you get into July is kind of where I start to really pay attention a little bit more. Just too early. Just focus on winning ball games. That's what the Cardinals are doing right now. We're going to talk about the upcoming lineup. They are out for both teams here in a few minutes. I want to continue just to recap on the last couple of games. Not only has the starting pitching been good, but the bullpen has been good, Grant. And one of the things that the Cardinals have one of the things the Cardinals have done well over the last couple of days is being able to limit damage in the back end as well. We know Friday night there was a couple of big moments. Romero was able to get out of one, the big double play against Ohtani, and Phil Maton getting out of a runners on second and third when nobody out situation, striking out two batters. Yesterday, getting the big double play in the 8th inning against Freddie Freeman. I mean, some people don't like pitchers duels because they think they're boring. I love pitchers duels because I think that it focuses you to everything has to be just about perfect. Otherwise, something stands out. And that was a perfect example yesterday in how the Cardinals scored their first run. Like in reality, the relief pitcher for the Dodgers, blanking on his name right now as I pull Casparius, right? He probably shouldn't have thrown that baseball to first after it deflected off of him that Burleson hit. He throws it to first. He throws it wide. And as a result, Mason Wynn is able to come around and score. If he doesn't throw that baseball, then Mason Wynn doesn't score on that play. So I think that pitchers duels, point out every single flaw compared to games where that's not the case, where the bats are awake and are thriving a little bit. Yesterday, the bullpen's work for the Cardinals the last 2 days has outdone what the Dodgers have been able to do. I know you have to take into consider that this Dodgers rotation and bullpen is pretty banged up right now, but I think that speaks for something. We talked about some of the concerns going in with the Cardinals starting rotation. Kyle Leahy had been stressing people out a little bit here the last several outings. Steven Matz had been coming off a couple of tough ones. They've both been big parts of the last couple of wins, especially yesterday's. So I think perhaps, once again, another sigh of relief for Cardinals fans knowing, okay, everything that we're doing right now is against the best team in baseball, and they're performing at the level that we've seen them in large part this season. I think that's a big sigh of relief for fans.
Yeah, Nats, was coming off a very tough outing. He goes 1 2/3. Marmol decides to pull Fetty, I think, at the right time. Nats gets out of it with some lefties, pitches the 6th, or was that the 7th he pitched to? He pitched the 6th and 7th. Then Leahy comes in the 8th, and he had struggled his last few outings as well. I think the few days off for him really paid off. And Helsley again, and I know it's probably not really his fault. I mean, he got 3 outs and gave up a run, which striking out a batter shouldn't give up a run, but he pitched himself into trouble again, which he does often. If both strikeouts count, he gets out of it, but obviously one did not record an out. I still think that there's not a reason to really raise the alarm bells for Helsley, but it is a little concerning that he's blown 2 saves in, I think, the last week and a half. That is
it
a little concerning.
I understand giving a little bit of heat to Ryan Helsley at times this season because he hasn't been as good as he was last year, but it's yesterday the one where we're going to do it for.
No.
Like the way in which it happened, he gets a strikeout of Hae-Sung Kim, and then a little slow roller up the middle that hits off the second base bag for Ohtani. What the heck is he supposed to do about that? Mm-hmm. And then a bloop single to the hottest hitter in baseball in Mookie Betts. He gets Freddie Freeman to strike out on a ball that, ideally you'd like Pedro Pajes to be able to stop.
Yeah.
Then he gets Will Smith to strike out. I saw a comment on Twitter yesterday that said that was one of Ryan Helsley's best outings of the year. I would probably agree with him.
Yeah,
I don't know if there's anything that you can do about yesterday's outing. The bloop single, I mean, sure, fine. He let up a bloop single to Mookie Betts. But the exit velo on it was probably 70 miles an hour. I mean, what are you supposed to do?
Yeah, I think that's what I'm saying. It's definitely not. I mean, if you just look at the stats and don't watch, 2 blown saves in your last couple outings are concerning, but he pitched very well yesterday. And I don't think it's any reason to raise the alarm bells. Now, let's say he has a chance today to close it out again, or tomorrow, or his next save opportunity. He blows that one. Then you're looking at, 2 of his last few, so I definitely think that he needs a good outing soon. And not that yesterday wasn't, but a clean outing. Let's see a comfortable 1, 2, 3. I think that would be big from Helsley just to maybe calm some nerves, because I think there is still some from Cardinals fans about him.
Leo commenting here saying, without the freak Ohtani hit, the single was meaningless.
Yeah.
And then Bill saying, even if it doesn't hit the bag, even if it don't hit the bag, Wynn does not throw Ohtani out.
No. It was unfortunate, and that's baseball.
I don't know if I would agree with that. Yeah, I think you're underestimating Mason Wynn's arm a little bit and how many outs he created on Friday night, Bill. But it at the end of the day, like, that doesn't end up mattering. Bill also commenting saying, I thought it was interesting that Matz was used instead of Romero, and I think that this is a good point to bring up because I was actually. I was wondering this on Friday night who they would use in the situation of if they were to come up in the exact situation that they did. Sonny Gray, fourth time through the lineup, or what would have been his fourth time through the lineup. Shohei Ohtani, after with one out in the seventh inning, Ohtani comes up with one man on base, and they go to Romero in that situation, right? So I think that is the more telling one than what happened yesterday, because Friday was the more extreme example because Ohtani was coming up. They went to Romero in that case first. He threw an inning and a third. Matz threw a very low leverage, easy ninth inning against the Dodgers on Friday night, where he threw, I think, 10 or 11 pitches. They go back to Matz first in Saturday's game. And he was also facing, I'm trying to remember who he was facing at that point in the lineup. I want to say Kike Hernandez was the first batter he faced, which was a pinch hitter, and then he faced the bottom part of the lineup. So I still think that I completely agree with how Ollie Marmol used those guys in those situations. Romero got the higher leverage situation on Friday night's contest, but Matz was used in both of them because his outing was so low leverage in the ninth inning on Friday. I think Romero would have pitched the 10th inning. I think they had him warming up as well, so he would have been in a high leverage situation as well. I completely agree with how Ollie Marmol handled that situation in yesterday's game, the last two.
And I think, too, they like Matt's a little bit more. I know Romero came in the middle of an inning, but maybe a little earlier. Something they knew probably if he gets out of the sixth, okay, he's going to pitch the seventh as well. Whereas a few nights ago, Romero pitched 2/3 of an inning. So I think they're more comfortable letting Matz come in the middle of an inning and then finish or then start the next one as well. So I think that's the situation you see it. And it, like you said, it was a little less leverage than what Romero came into on Friday night.
He is Grant Salsman. I'm Ethan Hannaford. This is Card Central 365 on STL Sports Central. As mentioned prior, Card Central 365 is powered by Gray Bar here on STL Sports Central and is presented by DraftKings. The crown is yours. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now. Use the code STL Sports. You hear that, guys? STL Sports. New customer, if it's your first time downloading the app or hopping online, you get $5. You get free $5. And you play $5, you get a free $50 in Pick 6 credits. What a deal that is, guys. $5 down, $50 back your way to put some money down on some games. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. One per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
He is Grant Salsman. I'm Ethan Hannaford. This is Card Central 365 on STL Sports Central. I think it's time to get into a lineup, my guy. Let's go ahead and let's pull it up here. Cardinals and Dodgers, game number 3 of the series. First pitch time, 1:15. Clayton Kershaw, the starting pitcher for the Dodgers. And something we also haven't discussed yet, but we need to. Michael McGreevy, the starter today. For the Cardinals, got the call up. They made the official move just less than 2 hours ago, where Roddery Munoz was optioned to Memphis, and McGreevy gets to start today. Be interesting to see if he goes right back down after today. Would not surprise me. Giving the situation 6-man rotation. It'll be interesting to see how they navigate these next couple of starts for McGreevy, but he has the start today against the big boy LA Doyos lineup. So let's go ahead and let's take you through the Redbirds lineup, which will look like the following. Lars Nootbaar leading off, playing in left field. Mason Wynn in the 2 spot at short. Brendan Donovan is at third once again and playing second base. Wilson Contreras is cleaning up, playing first. He'll be followed by Ivan Herrera, the designated hitter. Nolan Arenado back in the lineup after his walk-off ground rule double yesterday. He is at third base and followed by Alec Burleson, who is playing in right field. The catcher, Pedro Pajes, is batting 8th. And in the 9th spot, Jose Barrero is playing in center field. That's something that I'll definitely want to discuss. But overall, when you look at this lineup, Grant, what are you thinking? Takeaways, thoughts?
Yeah, I think this is probably the strongest lineup right now for the Cardinals, you could argue, with who they have available. Maybe you want Herrera catching and someone else in that DH spot. But I think with the way Pedro Pajes is hitting and what he brings defensively, this is the strongest batting lineup for sure for the Cardinals, besides Victor Scott in center field, obviously. But it is lefty on lefty. Clayton Kershaw against Victor Scott. I think it's just not something they want to test out. They don't feel as comfortable with Scott against a lefty. And I think Barrero probably will only play 5 to 6 innings. I would imagine if a righty comes in, his spot will be taken by Scott at some point. But I don't think this is just a day off for Scott, a rest day or anything. I think it's simply a matchup situation.
I think it's a little bit of both, but I think that this is a situation, and Bill commented this earlier, saying Barrero in center today is setting up McGreevy for failure. Barrero is not to the caliber that Victor Scott is in center field. I think we can all agree on that. But lefty-lefty matchup, Victor Scott has looked abysmal at the plate. He's 0 for his last 18. He's just 5 for his last 41 at the plate. I don't know if you've seen his at-bats here the last couple of days. He looks completely lost right now. And it's because the league is making adjustments back to him, right? We know that he is a good fastball hitter. Well, guess what? Teams have stopped throwing him fastballs. And it's the same exact thing that happened with Jordan Walker at the beginning of 2024. Teams stopped throwing him fastballs. They found out that he likes to chase breaking pitches outside. And all of a sudden, bingo. So right now, that is where they're at with Victor Scott. It's time for Scott to make some adjustments. And to be quite frank, he's got to start hitting off-speed stuff. Otherwise, he's going to be in some trouble, because I think it's now 1 for his last, probably 30, 32 now for Victor. So he's got some work to do offensively. But like I said, Barrero is a downgrade defensively, right? But I imagine I do agree probably with what you said, in the sense that we'd probably see Victor Scott later in the game today as a defensive substitution. But I think the Cardinals are just trying to keep him fresh, to a certain extent, give him a day off, I think is a part of it. But also I think a young guy, it's probably really easy to get in your head at this point when you're struggling like this. I mean, yesterday he tried bunting at a breaking ball that was way outside with 2 strikes. That's a situation of a guy that is questioning everything at the plate. And so, I understand giving him the day today, and hopefully he's able to, respond, get the bat going a little bit here eventually. But this one totally makes sense to me.
Yeah, I still think we'll see him contribute something offensively today, whether it's him pinch hitting for Barrero to bunt, or pinch running in a situation where his bat spot in the lineup won't come up again. Like, I think we'll see something from Victor Scott today, more than just defensively.
A couple of people commenting in the chat. Tyler saying Victor needs a day off desperately. Mason asking when Scott's last day off was. Don't have that off the top of my head. We'll see if I can find that. Scott also needs an off day to reset mentally. Offensively has been bad of recent. Sound of Silence saying that he can't take a day off today. Not yet, because we need him. I understand from a defensive standpoint. I understand why fans would say this is not the day to take a day off. But it's getting to the point, right, where the lineup just seems so much deeper when Victor Scott is hitting at the bottom of the lineup, because all of a sudden Nootbaar is hitting with guys on base. Wynn is hitting with guys on base. Donovan the same, right? And it sets you up so much deeper when you're 9 guys getting on, and he has been an automatic out the last several games. So it's a tough balance, but I understand the point of the people saying this is not the day to do it. You need the guy in center field that can take control of things against this good Dodgers lineup. I get that. As I'm looking through some comments here, some people are saying that Michael Ciani should be brought up. You know what? If this continues from Victor Scott for an extended period of time, it's going to be a conversation that we are eventually going to be having more and more. I don't think we're there yet with Victor Scott, but Michael Ciani's hitting well in AAA. I don't know if I necessarily care about that very much. We know the defense he can play. But he's another lefty, and this Cardinal has a lot of lefty guys already in the lineup. So I don't know if that is something to take into consideration. But will something potentially eventually to discuss.
But here's the thing: if they send Victor Scott down, it's contradictory of everything they've said coming into this year. And
Totally.
that's the confusing part of where is this team? Are they going to send Victor Scott down because he needs it for AAA because he's not performing at the major league club, or are they going to keep giving him the runway? And that's something we could see. We could see a real stance from the club in the next few weeks if it keeps going. I mean,
and that's why I think actually the Cardinals have done a pretty good job of this so far. Like, when Gorman struggled the large majority of the year, but when Walker was really struggling early, Ollie was asked about this, and he basically said it's not necessarily about the on-field results. It's about how a player is mentally when they're going through the struggles, when they're going through the failure. And that is a lot of, that decision-making process. That is why I say that I don't think that it's time yet to be having that conversation, but it could be eventually if Victor Scott continues to move into this direction. The at-bats aren't competitive. I wouldn't normally be one to just throw out that he is clearly struggling at the plate or is clearly questioning things, like mentally struggling. But that at-bat yesterday told me a lot. It felt like trying to bunt with 2 strikes on a breaking pitch outside when I don't think anyone was on base. That's the at-bat of a guy that is questioning things mentally, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but that's my take on that. So it is the year of runway, absolutely. But if you get to the point where a guy is just so checked out mentally and is struggling so much that it is doing him damage to have him at the plate, then that is where it becomes a different conversation. Bill commenting saying Scott was not one of the runway players. Bull crap.
Yeah.
That is so not true at all. Victor Scott had little to no Major League Baseball experience coming into 2025. He was absolutely one of the runway guys. He wasn't being talked about nearly as much because he had a great spring training and people were excited about him and were confident in what he could do at the major league level. But he was absolutely a huge runway piece. And you know why that is? They didn't make the decision until the final day of spring training, basically, that he was going to be the major league center fielder. Up to that point, it was still going to be Michael Ciani in a lot of people's eyes. So Victor Scott absolutely is a huge runway piece. Completely disagree with that. But no, Victor Scott, one of the pieces. You mentioned something about Ivan Herrera also ideally being the catcher, but then you said that the strongest lineup was with Pages in it. What is your take as a whole on Pedro Pages catching Ivan Herrera? What would you be preferring to see Ollie Marmol's usage of those two?
I'm perfectly okay with Pages being your everyday catcher.
Okay.
He's been hitting. He is perfectly acceptable to be the everyday catcher. What he does defensively is great. It's much better than Herrera, and it's good enough offensively. And I'm fine if Ivan Herrera is basically the DH that catches once a week. Yeah, I have no issue with that whatsoever. Now, Pages, starts catching or batting very poorly. Maybe when Jordan Walker's healthy, Alec Burleson, you see the DH spot mixed up a little bit. Herrera sprinkled in at catcher maybe a little bit more. But right now, for what's available, this is 1 through 8, the strongest lineup.
Yeah, I think when you look at the contributions, and we talked about this on yesterday's show, so there's no reason to harp on it too much. But when you look at what Pedro Pajes has been able to do defensively, working with these pitchers. I think it's a huge reason for the success of them. We had someone earlier, Bill once again asked, why no Gorman today? Fair question, especially after the day that he had yesterday. A couple of big hits. A game like yesterday, in my opinion, tell me if you agree, Grant, is a huge confidence booster for a guy like Nolan Gorman. You hit the ball hard a couple of times. You score the winning run, or your spot scores the winning run. He was pinch ran for by Barrero once he had that double in the ninth. That is a big moment for a guy that's had a really rough season.
Yeah, big moments for sure.
And hold on, real quick, let me finish. Against with a lefty on the mound today, I think that Ollie Marmol's trying to be careful with his guy and not trying to negate right the positive work mentally for him, but also offensively that has been done with a lefty on the mound today, especially a guy that has a lot of junk. We know that he has traditionally struggled with breaking stuff and chasing. I know that he's been a little bit better at that this year, but with a guy that traditionally has had issues with that, I think that Ollie Marmol's trying to care for his guy. It made sense to start him yesterday against the righty in Yamamoto. Everyone could pretty much predicted that today was not going to be the day for it. So I think that we are going to see a lot of Nolan Gorman in the upcoming days, but I understand why not today. Keep that confidence up. Let yesterday be a building block, and hopefully you get some righty pitching. I haven't looked at who Toronto is going to be throwing in this upcoming series. Hopefully you get some righty pitching, and you can continue to have him in the lineup, build some progress for him. Go ahead.
Yeah, you took the words exactly out of my mouth. I mean, he had a good day yesterday, and he gets a little confidence. He's had a couple good games in a row. I think even games where he maybe didn't get hits, he was hitting the ball well. And I agree also with Mason Winda's comment, because Gorman is backup second base and third baseman, and Arenado and Donovan are playing today. I mean, at the end of the day, he's the backup there. The only spot, if I'm looking at this lineup, with Donovan and Arenado playing for him, is the DH role, which then you put Paz to the bench and Herrera's probably catching, or vice versa. So against the lefty, I don't think that's what they want to do. But the upcoming few games, maybe in this Blue Jays series, if Arenado and Donovan play Monday and Tuesday, Gorman will probably be in that lineup on Wednesday, off day game for one of them. And I could also see maybe Monday or Tuesday, Herrera getting the nod to catch and Pajes maybe being benched and Gorman in that DH role. So I think that's where you look at it. It's more of between Gorman and Pajes right now, with everyone starting and no off days given.
We'll go ahead and we'll take a look at the Dodgers lineup here, facing off against Michael McGreevy, making his second start of 2020. Is that correct? Is this his second start, or was the first one just long? Or I couldn't remember if the first one was long relief or not. But anyway, so Michael McGreevy facing off against this Dodgers lineup. Shohei Ohtani leading off the DH. Mookie Betts at short, batting second. Freddie Freeman in the 3 spot, the new generation MV3 right there. Teoscar Hernandez is batting cleanup today in right field. Max Muncy at third base, batting 5th. He's followed by the catcher Will Smith, who gets moved down to the 6th spot. Michael Conforto is batting 7th in left field. Tommy Edman is is playing second base, batting 8th, and Hyseung Kim is batting 9th in center field. I think this is the strongest lineup the Dodgers have. We saw Smith not in the lineup on Friday. Hernandez not in it yesterday. When you look 1 through 9 at this lineup, there is just no holes, and Michael McGreevy is going to have his hands full today. But he's a guy that you trust to get the job done. And let me say this: this is his first start of 2025. It was long relief, 5 2/3. That was against the Mets, I believe, and he allowed 1 hit in that outing. So, what we've seen from him at the major league level, while limited this year, has been excellent. We know how good he was in spring training. There was a lot of excitement for Michael McGreevy and what he could be for this rotation. So let's hope that it is promising what we see in today's start, and if he gets any other starts in June, because depending on what the trade deadline looks like, this is a guy that could very well be in the rotation in one of the 5 in the second half of the season.
Yeah, it's a little baptism by fire today. I mean, your first start of the season against maybe the best lineup in the MLB. Granted, they've only scored 1 run in the last 18 innings, but I'm excited. I don't think this, unless he totally blows up today, I think he will get one more start up here before moves are made. I think they'll roll with the 6-man rotation for at least one rotation through. So I think he'll get one more, and then either he gets sent down or they roll with the 6-man for a while. Someone gets hurt, maybe someone else gets sent down. So I think he has in this little tryout at least 2 starts granted to him.
I would agree. I think that regardless, actually, I think that today I think that regardless of how today goes, he ges another start in June.
Yeah.
Because there's no one else, right? I mean, they like Steven Matz in the bullpen, what he's doing there right now. I don't think that what could happen today, even if it is treacherous, limits him from another start.
Yeah.
I imagine as I look at the schedule, he probably starts next weekend against Milwaukee. If you were to go one time through, the next Monday, there is an off day. So perhaps he gets skipped that time through, and he may get another start the final week of June because from the 17th through the 30th, technically through July 2nd, there's no off days. So it wouldn't surprise me if he gets another 2 starts on top of today. Well, when you look at Michael McGreevy and how to limit the damage right against a lineup like this, are there any big keys that you have or any thoughts that you have as far as that goes?
I think it's really confidence. I mean, go out there. Don't be, it's Shohei Ohtani, it's Mookie Betts. Just go out there and pitch. I think sometimes young guys can get a little starstruck and really focus a little too much on their pitches, knowing who they're pitching to. I think it's just clear your mind, be confident, go hit your spots. And I think he's going to have a pretty good start today if that happens.
Yeah, limit damage is the big thing. I said it for Eric Fetty yesterday. If you can keep the ball in the ballpark, which to their advantage, right? The weather is helping the Cardinals in what is already a pitcher's ballpark, with it just being so thick and humid in the air because of the weather. I think that's been a big advantage the last couple of days. There's maybe a couple of balls to get out if it's not, or definitely for different ballparks. But if you can limit the damage from the top of the order, then I think that is going to set you up well. Keep the ball in the ballpark today if you're Michael McGreevy, and go from there and see what the heck happens. No one thought that we were going to get what we got from Eric Fetty yesterday. So let's hope that the Cardinals are able to hit Clayton Kershaw well. Not a lot of great track records for the Cardinals against Clayton Kershaw. When you look at overall, Nolan Arenado has hit him well, batting 297 and 74 career at-bats. Wilson Contreras batting 125 and 24 career at-bats. Nobody else has more than 5 at-bats against him. Brendan Donovan 2 for 3 in his career against him. But outside of that, not a lot of experience against the veteran left-handed pitcher and future first ballot Hall of Famer. So it'll be interesting to see what the Cards lineup is able to do today. They go for the sweep. Boy, I tell you what, I've said it a couple of times now. I'll wrap up with this. The narrative has changed. We went from 2 out of 6 in the previous 6 games against Texas and Kansas City, and everyone was freaking out. Everyone was panicking. Some of that was understandable. Some of it was fair. But I said it going into this series. If you find a way to win a series against the Dodgers, the narrative completely changes in a matter of 3 games.
Yes.
Boy, if the Cardinals are able to sweep, then the narrative becomes even more extreme in the right direction. So we'll see what the Cardinals are able to do today. Grant, any final comments before we wrap?
I think McGreevy gets a quality start today. I'm going to go 6 innings, 2 runs. The Dodgers double their run total in 6 innings, but I still think Cardinals fans would be very happy with that outing from Michael McGreevy.
Amen to that, my man. Amen to that. Well, we appreciate you having joined us here for Card Central 365 on STL Sports Central. As always, powered by Gray Bar and presented by DraftKings. The crown is yours. Cardinals Dodgers, Game 3, 1:15 first pitch. Michael McGreevy, Clayton Kershaw. As always, we'll have the post game for you following the conclusion of the game, and we hope to see you there. Thanks for joining.